Trading. Lex, how are you?
I'm doing well, Corey. I'm glad to be back. I feel like it feels like forever when I haven't been on, but it hasn't been that long. But I'm super happy to
It
be back.
hasn't. It hasn't. But we're super glad to have you back. We're super glad to have you joining us in a more regular capacity as well. So
Right
some cool stuff in store for you and the viewers and for us. So
on.
thanks again
Nice.
for joining us this morning and being a surge trader. So Lex,
Absolutely.
what's been going on since the last time we talked? I know it's been a little while. The markets have been moving. We've had some new developments. Fed stuff, housing, a lot of stuff's going on out there. But before we jump into the all of the nitty gritty, for people who don't know you, we've got a lot of new viewers coming on. Share me
Yeah.
a little bit about the Lex story. Who are you? What do you
Yeah.
do?
So, guys, nice to meet everybody. I'm Lex. I own Flex Trading, which is my own educational platform. I've been trading for 5 years, and I don't mean that loosely. I mean it's been an everyday, ongoing journey. I am currently located in South Florida, and much like a lot of you, I had to start somewhere. I've been with SurgeTrader for probably time flies. It's been a good chunk of time, probably like half a
It
year at this.
has. Yeah, at
Yeah,
least.
it's been quite some time. So I was a former college basketball player, and I always share the story because it's one of my favorites and most defining moments of my life. Is when I came out of college, I had professional contracts to go play professionally overseas. I looked at my agent and I said, you know what? I'm sorry you've done all this work just for me to tell you I'm going to put this down, and I think I'm going to go rebuild and learn things that I just haven't learned. And so I went home back to Woodbridge, Virginia is where I'm from, making $170 a week babysitting. I had a degree, could have done the 9 to 5 route, watched my peers all have the 9 to 5 route, but I decided to take the unconventional route, and I took a babysitting job and I wasn't making anything, and it was hard. But during that time was when I really, dove into my trading and my disciplines and refined the skill set. And 5 years later, I mean, still here, which says something. And it's been an incredible week in the markets as well. So I'm super thrilled to share the charts and just, be on here and spread
Awesome,
the.
awesome. So
Yeah.
go back to when you gave up a basketball career for trading. I mean, it must have been difficult. What did your friends and family say? Because we get a lot of people who want to become traders, but they're worried about the perception of their parents or their friends. It's kind of like you said, non-conventional. How did you navigate that?
You know, um, Being an athlete, an elite athlete for so long, everyone knew me as the basketball player, right? And so I knew when I made that decision, newspapers would be calling, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I would have to go home and run into people. And the first question people always ask me is, "How's basketball going?" So this was going to be a totally different kind of response where I'm like, I'm putting it down. And I was 22 at the time. So 22 is really young, and everyone's like, putting it down. You could have played for years. Like that's what you prepared for your entire life. But I answered those questions with, for me, and this is, personal to me, is that, God has a plan for me, and this is the way God is taking me, and I'm going to go with it. And this is just something, I believe in meditation, and I was just sitting on it for so long, like, hey, is this the right thing? Do you want to be comfortable your whole life, or do you want to go stretch yourself? So I took the stretch yourself route, and it was difficult. Those conversations were difficult. Those conversations ate at my ego a little bit, but
I
that
bet.
is under control. So if anything, it attacked my ego more than anything. But 5 years later, now the same people are like, "Hey, how can I learn to trade?" So it's
I
like,
bet. Right. Awesome.
yeah, the legacy
So
continues.
at what point did your parents come around? Were they supportive right out of the gate?
Um, Yes, yes, yes. They're always going to say, Lex, you could have done this in the league, and there's my cat back there. You could have done this and that, and but they're also like-minded like me, and they're like, we trust whatever God has for you, and we trust that whatever decision you make, you will go at it at 100%. That's never really been an issue with me. So they're like, go for it. They don't really understand day trading. I've even tried to like tell them, hey, you guys should trade with me because I think it'd be sick for all of the family to be traders, but it's not that easy. Not that easy, but they don't fully comprehend. They know stock investing, long-term investing, but they don't really understand the aspect of day trading. So it's not my responsibility to try to force it on anybody, but they are totally
Sure.
supportive. And now as they see this thing develop and me, have these opportunities with Surge and us becoming one, I mean, I think they're like, okay, this kid definitely marches to the beat of her own drum. But we'll support it because it seems like she trusts in herself. So I think that's really where it ended up.
Good, awesome. A lot of people, with, having the blessings of their family is an important part. So I'm glad you did as well. So
Yeah.
you kind of gave up basketball, went into trading, and then you probably had somewhat of a lull. Everybody has to start somewhere. Tell me about your journey there. I remember you told me you did it on your own, which is kind of unique
Yeah.
these days. Share with me that
Yeah.
journey.
If I could have done it differently, and I wish I had the money to invest in a mentor and have education, which I think is so important. You don't need 20 different platforms of education. You just need one or two. I didn't have the money, point blank, being candid. And so YouTube University was my best friend. Baby pips or easy pips. I can't remember. I think it's baby pips.
Yeah.
That's where I just started to learn the language. And, when I saw people hosting free calls online, there was no excuse for me not to be on them. I got on the calls and, I was lost, brand new, I'm lost. But I knew that this kind of like a 50-50 game. I can either be on the losing side or the winning side. And at some point, I'll probably end up on the winning side if I stay around long enough. But I did have to teach myself up until about, 2.5, 3 years in when I finally started getting the capital from some decent profits. Nothing that's going to change your life at that moment. But I just took the money and I reinvested it. And, just the action of reinvesting the money into education showed me that the money was real from the markets.
Right.
And
Right.
just being able to afford more education, I was like, okay, wait a minute, this skill set's actually like pretty legit. So I ended up finding a mentor. Nobody knows about him. His name is Q Bands, not Q Banks. It's Q Bands. He's off the grid. I just got into touch with him and I was like, your trading strategy looks like something that I would trade like. And he took me under his wing and he revolutionized my trading. And now, I have to shout him out. He might be on the live stream right now, but he definitely revolutionized my trading. And from that point, I didn't really invest in a lot more education. I was like, because it's never more patterns, more technicals, more indicators. It's psychology at that point, and you can't pay for somebody to teach you that. So at that point, you have the education. Now I just have to take the hits and kind of develop my psychology.
Awesome. And how long was that process?
Um, so for psychology, it's forever. 5 years in, I'm still learning psychology. As for the technical analysis aspect, after I got a mentor in education, I mean, I was already trading 2.5 years, so it took me a week to catch on to that. But I will say for new traders, just to put myself in their shoes, if you have the right educator, if you have the right mentor, you can see results in easily under 6 months. I have students doing it now who are they're getting funded with Surge left and right. And I mean, if I had the education that I provide in my lap, I think it would look different. But my journey is my journey, and so it takes time. There's a lot of moving parts with trading, and you just kind of have to,
Sure. Sure.
you know.
It's a complicated, difficult game. I mean, nobody's
Yes.
denying that for sure. And there's so many people who don't make it out the other side. Unfortunately, people give up too soon. They might be right there, but stuff gets in the way, challenges. For the longest time, it was capital. People just didn't have the money to trade with the prop firms coming online and being so available, and the rules are uh, adequate now for somebody to be successful. So many
Yep.
more people who had the drive, the determination, they're able to kind of jump in and do more with it because they
Absolutely.
have the capital, and then they team up with somebody like you for the education, and they're off and running. And we've seen that number decrease as well. Years ago, like you said, it was multi-year trial and error, a lot of lumps. Now somebody could get a prop firm, get a mentor, and be in the game in a realistic fashion in a very short amount of time
Yeah.
comparatively.
That prop firm space has just revolutionized the trading space. Even when I look at my students, it's almost like now they're profitable because the pressure's been alleviated that they don't have to trade their own capital. And I wasn't educated on prop firm space, so I didn't use a prop firm. I used my own capital. But now watching people have the money that they would originally use for capital and be able to invest it in an educator has just changed the game so much. So guys, if you're not with a prop firm, you need to be with SurgeTrader. Don't trade your own capital. You don't have to. I'd rather lose the
What would
challenge.
you say? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what would you say your the ratio in your training, prop to non-prop?
At this point, it's probably 100% prop firm in my
Oh wow,
now.
wow,
Yeah, I
awesome.
I will go out on a limb and say there's maybe one student. She's made a substantial amount of money trading her own capital. She's very unique. Is very unique. So she can still go that route because it's worked, you know. But I know she does have a prop firm account as well. But other than that, when I think about all my active students, profitable students, trying to become profitable students, they're all with a prop firm. They're all with Surge. They're no other prop firm. So
Awesome, awesome. Well,
it's
thanks so much for the vote of confidence. I've found that personally as well. A lot of people have both. A lot of people are in a position where they might be able to trade their own capital in a different account, but the prop tool just adds. It's such a incongruent value proposition for people.
yeah.
You're trading with a lot of capital that's not your own, and really you could start moving the markets much sooner than you would if you had to build that up. I mean, people go
Yes.
through a multi-year phase just trying to build up enough capital to be a trader, and then
Yes.
you take a couple lumps, you lose that pretty quickly, and you're
Yep.
starting at zero. With a prop firm, you kind of avoid that. It's kind of like I think you told me that it's the cheat code.
It is. It's the forex or whatever, energies, whatever you're trading hack. It's a complete hack to day trading, and it's revolutionary. It's so cool to watch these things just appear. They didn't have this 10, 15 years ago. This wasn't a thing.
Right.
So knowing that you don't have to trade your own capital, I mean, right then and there, your psychology is 10 times more confident.
Absolutely. Tell me how
Mhm.
you deal with the rules. And somebody who's trading their own account. This is part of the problem with trading your own account. There's no guide rails. So you could blow up the whole account in any instant you want. When you come over to a prop
Mhm.
firm, we have fairly stringent, very non-flexible rules. They're not impossible by any means. They're very fair, but they're
Yes.
there for somebody who's coming in, never traded with rules before. How does that impact their psychology? Is it a good thing, a bad thing? Give me your take on it.
It's a great thing, just referencing a conversation I had 2 months ago, there was a trader who was funded, and he's not with my group personally, but he was funded, and then he lost his account. And he's like, "Hey, can I just talk to you about some mindset stuff?" And he's like, I probably wouldn't feel so bad about losing the account if I didn't have the rules. And right then and there, I was like, well, hold on, because if you didn't have those rules, and let's say you were trading your own capital, you would have kept poking at that market and losing and losing and losing. Before you know it, you have 10,000 worth of capital gone. The prop firm rules protect you as a trader. I can speak for myself, and I've been in this game. It's not long compared to some people, but it feels long for me. And I can speak for my students, is that once you have no choice but to follow a set of risk management disciplines because you want to keep the account, you're going to have those disciplines even when someday in the future you go to trade your own capital. So for me, I think it just revolutionized my trading. I became a better trader when I got with prop firms, and it was solely because of the risk management. Because at the end of the day, real traders aren't trying to hit home runs here and there, anyways. We're
Right.
looking for
Right. Of
steady,
course.
sustainable gains, right? And the only way to have sustainability is through risk management and discipline. So if I have to make 1,000 every single week until it turns to 2,000, 2,000 every week, then I'll do it, versus 10,000 and then I lose it and then I have to hit another home run to get back to break even, right? The
Exactly.
problem, the risk management, it's the disciplines. They're not unfair. They're not too strict. It keeps you right in that sweet spot of, sitting in the seat as a trader of how to be successful. So I'm just an advocate, and I think it's because of the risk management. When I was trading my own capital, I was not disciplined. I've had some incredibly large winning days. I've shared before. I've made $25,000 in a day. I turned around the next day and lost 19,000 of it. And part of the journey, but I realized, okay, I probably wouldn't have done that if I actually knew what risk I needed to keep in place. Because with prop firms, they give you the parameters, right? They provide their
Right.
parameters.
Absolutely.
I don't have
Absolutely.
to like self innovate my own, right? So it's like with the prop firm space, they're giving you the manual, and now you just need to know how to trade. So
Awesome.
big fan.
Great insights. Yeah, absolutely. Great insights. I like the fact that you said, it's going to be something you take with you. You're building a good habit. So whether you're in prop forever or you're trading your own account someday, you're going to have that habit instilled in you, and hopefully take that with you and continue on a path of good risk management.
Right on, right on. It's even if you don't want to trade a prop firm, just go trade a prop firm just to learn the risk. What type of risk are they using? Because Surge uses real money. This is not a live demo account in the funded. This is a live investor pot of money. So
Right.
um,
Absolutely.
these are legitimate rules. So if you don't want to trade prop, just go get the insight on how to be sustainable through the risk, and then go branch off. But if you don't have
Yeah,
that,
exactly. It's good education, if nothing else.
it is. There's just so many great things that have come out of there. Even when I look at, since we've gotten together in 5 months, my trading has drastically skyrocketed, and it's because of the rules in place.
Awesome. Good to hear it.
Yeah,
So, Lex, tell
yeah,
me a little bit about your trading principles. I know you have a school and you train people to trade and you have a methodology. Tell me I
yeah.
know you had a mentor previously. How did that come up about? What is it? Give me the highlights.
Um, so are you referencing just like are you talking more technicals, or how did I become an educator?
No, your actual methodology that you use to trade.
Yeah, so there's swing trading, there's intraday, and there's scalp. I'm not a scalper. I fall somewhere between a swing trader analysis and an intraday scale in, scale out kind of trader. So I love the 4 hour. That is where I do my analysis. That is what I consider my highest time frame. And then I'll drop down into the 1 hour to actually obtain my entries. And what that does is the 4 hour gives me a nice projection of, because higher time frame means bigger move, and the 1 hour allows me to get multiple entries in that 4 hour move. So, I might hold a trade one day, I might hold a trade 3 days. I don't ever really see me holding trades much longer than that, because at that point, taking the profit and getting out of there is my philosophy. But 4 hour to 1 hour with some simple price action. I someday I want to patent my confirmation list, because it's very cut and dry. It's very to the point. It's from 5 years of being in this market every day, no days off on this side. But it's sequential, so it's like 10 confirmations. The first five are what I call my structure confirmations, which I have to see first. And then the next five are my price action confirmations, which actually gets me in the market. So I always say, like, all these educators, we don't really have unique strategies. We're all trading structure and we're all trading price
Hmm.
action. And so for me though, I've developed a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 what to look for in the market. And you don't have to hop around on the confirmation list. It is check, check, check. And this is how it kind of gets me into the market to obtain, the profit. But fairly simple. I've had people come in a week and start sending me screenshots of projections, not trading live yet, because we don't advise that in flex trading, but they're sending me projections. It took me 3 years to project the market after, everything I went through. People are doing it so quickly, and I'm like, it's literally because I have a sequential confirmation list for my students that make this really easy. And the confirmations are either there or they're not. There's no creating a false scenario that I always say on my calls. If you're straining to convince yourself or see the confirmations, they're probably not there. From this confirmation list, they will be extremely evident. So it's
That's
pretty
awesome.
much it.
That's a nice departure from what you typically see. People say trading's an art more than a science. It sounds like you've kind of boiled it down to something that it's binary. It's yes or no. Whereas a lot of trading educators will be like, well, this zone, this area, maybe, and that for new people especially who don't have the time on the charts, that becomes difficult.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I just think humans in general, we just make things so complex because it's almost like that's what we gravitate towards. But to be honest, guys, trading is really, really simple. It's having to go inwards and reflect on your habits and weaknesses and strengths that make it a little more illuminating and difficult for individuals. But it's not the actual chart itself. It's very simple.
Lex, tell me a little bit about that, the off the chart stuff. I know you're very big on, the psychology, your daily routine. Tell me a little bit about that and how your journey with it. Has it always been the same? Has it changed?
Yeah, so I think, even just to preface this a little bit, before I was ever, an elite athlete, there were disciplines that I had to have. There was a mindset that I had to have. There was just this set of rules that I had to abide by to reach my goals, right? And so I realized that like trading is everything is all about emotional intelligence. You can't do something over outside of the charts one way and then come in the charts and do it different. Like, you can't be temperamental outside of the charts and then think when you're in the charts you're not going to be temperamental. It has to align. So with trading, I think the psychology aspect, I mean, it transcends into every portion of my life. Just to give you background, like, I am a big believer in meditation, prayer, whatever it is that kind of like centers you and sits you in
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
seat that where you're. resonating. I'm feeling good. I'm a huge fan of personal development. I don't think we just come equipped with the knowledge to be the best version of ourselves every day. There's knowledge we have to obtain to apply, right? So I believe in meditating. I believe in practice. That is a huge thing for me. I believe in practicing your craft. I tell my students, it's like let's say I have basketball practice, but I'm trying to win a state championship. I can't only go to practice with my teammates, right? If I'm going to be the leader, if I'm going to be the point guard, I have to do outside work outside of the
Right, of
classes.
course.
So practicing, and nobody in trading is telling you to do it. This isn't like high school or college where you have deadlines. Like, this is all you. So everything that you do outside of trading will reflect in the charts. If you don't practice outside, you won't be good inside, and so I try to tell my students, everything you do, just be great at it, be disciplined and be thorough, because the habits you're building outside of trading, in the weirdest way ever, Corey, they're going to show up in the markets. Like, I'm a little bit fiery, like I know that, because I'm competitive and I'm hungry, right? But I noticed in the charts, I can't make the chart move when I want it to move, and my
Uh-huh,
hunger
right.
that, so I had to learn how to have hunger, but also demanding the data too. So just being a good trader has just made me calm in every aspect of my life, and it's my trading journal too. It's like, hey, your attitude was terrible. Why were you so reckless with your lot sizes and things like that? And I deal with outside situations not even relevant to trading, and I'm like, wow, I'm so calm. Like, why am I so calm all of a sudden? And trading has just built my emotional intelligence up, and you have to do the work. There's no getting around it. You can take 1,000 trades, you're not just going to learn what you did wrong, right? You actually have to sit and look back on yourself and say, all right, where was I really slipping on my disciplines? And that's the hard part for people. Not everybody wants to look themselves in the mirror and say,
Sure,
what
that's the scary part.
it's hard. It's hard because you have to admit, like, those same things that are illuminating your weaknesses are what's showing up in your day-to-day relationships, showing up in your 9 to 5. And that's really difficult for people. But if you learn to actually embrace that and say, this is just the normal human experience, I have to face myself. Um, you're going to be good. You're going to be good, but you have to do the work. It's not just patterns, indicators, and technicals. There is a psychological component. Read some books, listen to some podcasts. Don't sit on Netflix all day and listen to junk TV. It's not going to make you a good trader. Get on YouTube.
Right.
Look at your best traders in the industry.
And now you mentioned
Yeah.
journaling. Tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
journaling. Is this something you do religiously? Something you just do for trading? Do you do it for other aspects of your life?
Yeah, so before I had a trading journal, I had a life journal. And I'm huge on it. Every morning I wake up and I think about like a long-term projection, and then there's the short term, and those are the more feasible ones that I try to focus on to get to the long term. And I write out things that I just want to do better at. Maybe I just need to be kinder, simple things. And at the end of the day, when it's time to lay my head down, I go back and I look in the journal. I said, what did I accomplish? How well did I do? And I would always reflect. I've done this since I was like 10. I don't know why. I just kind of had a interest towards it. I liked the self work. I really did.
Hmm.
So I always understood, reflection. But when it came to trading, now it's like, okay, with this setup, how was your psychology, right? So I had to kind of learn how to pair the self reflection with the action in the market. And so having the journal my whole life, it just kind of transcended into trading and having a journal as well. And in my journal, you guys would crack up. I won't share it, but there's moments I'm yelling at myself in my journal. There's moments where I'm tender with myself, but it's personal to me. And so in there though, I have to be completely 100% transparent with where I am, who I am at this very moment. And so I think if you don't have a trading journal, get a life journal first. Try to see how you track your life, and then over time you're gonna be like, all right, it just can't be much different than a trading
Let
journal.
me
And
ask you this, because this is a question. So I've been a huge advocate for journals for a long time, and journaling is half the battle, right? How do we actually use the journal to be effective? What do we do with it after? So we have this body of work. Now what?
yeah, so um, what I tell students and what I tell people, I have people message me all the time just looking for advice, and they ask the same thing. Okay, I have the journal, I write in the journal, but what do I do with the journal? Well,
Right.
the whole point the whole point of the journal is to reflect. So before my trading week, I go back the week before and I look and I try to find like the trends and the correlations of my trading. What do I want to bring into next week, and what do I want to leave in the past week? And so it's not you write in on Monday and you don't ever look at it again. It's you write in on Monday and then the following Monday you look back. So it's in
Awesome.
retrospect, right? You look, yeah,
So identify
reflect.
trends, more of what works, less of what doesn't work. That's great. That's actionable
Mm-hmm.
advice. That the journals sometimes abstract
Yeah.
for people. People, particularly people who haven't journaled. Expressing the value to them is easy, but then what do they use it for?
Mm.
What do they do? What are the steps they take? And then it becomes, I think, something personal for everybody individually.
Does. It does. It's funny as I look in my trading journal, it's less pictures of charts and it's more literal, like emotional things. Like, did you not get up on time? Did you go to bed too late? Like, all of a sudden, you're like, this is like my life journal too. And I don't have a ton of screenshots anymore of charts. At first, I technical trend line this, and now I'm like, okay, holy crap! Like you have the secret sauce. Now you just need to cite.
Interesting. Very interesting. The evolution of the journal is a neat perspective. Also, maybe we'll have to
It
dig
is.
into that one day. How the journal changes over time. That's a
Yeah,
good insight. So
absolutely.
let's jump over to some market analysis. I know you said you had a big week this week, a lot of trades. You share
Yes.
with me your just general sentiment of the market, and then we could get into some more specifics.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and pull up the screen. All right, let's go. Share screen. Sorry about that. Getting share. Boom. Can you see my screen?
Yep, sure can. It's loading now. Yep, it just came up. Perfect.
For some reason, Zoom started popping up, but okay. I'm glad we were on the right page. All right. So, this isn't a pair I usually trade. So this was one of those things. I know Corey, you've heard me say to break the rules, you have to know the rules.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of those things where I couldn't deny the structure I was seeing on GBP CAD. I called this out for my private platform. For those who don't know, I do offer private analysis. They're not signals, they're analysis, but we're floating like 170 pips on this trade, and we've just been scaling. So overall on GBP CAD, we can see that we're just in this booming uptrend, right? We just have a series of new highs, we have higher lows, we have new higher highs. At this point in time, as soon as I saw this, I was like, okay, I'm going to wait for this pullback to occur. And when I can get into this area of confluence here, that's when I'll start to utilize my high probability confirmations. That confirmation list I always list out. For this particular call, I'm not going to list out all the confirmation just because I have put it in some of the other videos, and I think there's
Yeah,
incentive
of
to go
course.
with.
No problem. Well, let
Yeah,
me ask you this: what is the impetus that made you look at this chart and say, I want to put this against my checklist?
My mentor, he had posted a chart on his Instagram, and I saw that it was GBP CAD. And from a bird's eye view, it just looked like really nice structure. And I was like, all right, you know what? GBP CAD, I have a love hate with. I've lost a lot of money early in my career to GBP CAD, but there's been a moment where I've had a really good trade with GBP CAD. So I was like, I'm going to glance. If it's clear as day, I might play around with it. If it's not, I'm just going to take it off. But he kind of inspired me to take a look. And so this is what I saw. And I was like, this is part of my strategy. The first thing I'm always looking for in the market is, am I getting a new high or am I getting a new low? And easy, 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 guys. This is clearly a new high. So at this
Hmm.
point, I'm waiting for the pullback to come into play. If we just zoom in a little bit here, make this bigger, we can see that this area of structure was broken and we
And
came
we're on the
into
4 hour.
retouch. I'm on the daily right now just because
Okay, got it.
GBP CAD, it's noisy. So this one's on the daily. I rarely go to the daily, guys. I am a 4 hour to 1 hour trader, but you'll see how I get into that 4 hour, 1 hour. And so daily, new high, knew I needed to let it pull back. And at this level right in here is when I was actually going to start looking for a trade. So I'll drop down a little bit. And here it is. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's textbook. It's clean. These are the setups that will make you a really sustainable, profitable, financially free, free from the constructs of your everyday life. So here it is. We pulled back to this level. And, I'm just going to draw this out because I think, I would love to share this. There's a high, there's a new higher high. And so now we're in this pullback like this. So guys, when we're in this pullback off of this daily high, you're going to see a series of lower lows and lower highs. Very, very normal. There's waves within waves. I have
Actually,
something in
you might need to refresh your screen. I'm not seeing what your clicks.
okay. We do have a thunderstorm. I don't know if you can hear the thunder. I hope it's not knocking out my. We had a tornado here yesterday too. It's been crazy.
Really?
Yeah, we were under.
Busy.
It has been busy. Can you see it now?
It's the same screen.
Is it
Try to close it out and then reopen it. Like
okay?
remove it and then reopen it.
Okay.
Like stop sharing and then share again.
Okay. Let me do this, and then share screen. Boom. Share. How about now?
I see your screen. Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's share this one more time. Hopefully, I would love to share this. We're still good.
Yep.
Perfect. Are we good here?
No, it went away.
Can you see this drawing right here, Corey?
The screen actually went. The share went away entirely.
Okay. How about here?
No. Try to share it again.
Uh-oh. Okay. I see that my Wi-Fi is starting to get a little shaky. We've got some thunder in the background. I really hope this can work. I want to share this trade so bad. Let's see. Cancel. Boom. All right. Let's try it one more time. All right. Let's share. Boom. All right. Let me know when you can see
Okay,
it.
cool. Yep, perfect. Came in nice.
Perfect. Can you see this one?
Yep, I can.
All right. I'm not going to scroll over the screen too much. I don't want to lose it again. All right. We're still good?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So, guys, we had this high, this higher low, this high, and then this daily pullback. You're going to see lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. So, I teach something that's very unique to my platform. It's called the internal break. And there's just waves within waves in the market, right? You have a 4-hour time frame. Imagine these as the 4-hour highs right in here. And then now we're dialing into a lower time frame. All right, I'll go down to, we'll leave it here. All right, we'll leave it here. We have the low, we have the lower high, we have a low, we have a lower high. So what I like to see, guys, is if I'm looking to continue back to this higher time frame high, I want to see resistance levels breaking. I want to see resistance turning to support, resistance turning to support, just like this. At this point in time, when price pulled back, we can see that we had this beautiful internal break right here. Notice how price, we pushed, we pulled back, we had this little mini pullback, lower low, lower high, low, and then we broke here. So at this point in time, I'm not buying on the initial break because I know when a resistance level breaks and I'm headed to my higher time frame, higher high, I'm looking for resistance to turn to support. So at this point, guys, I didn't want to see the market, and I'm just going to clean that up just a little bit. I didn't want to see the market trade back beneath this low right in here, and I'll make that line red. So to really confirm that this is an actual internal break, I should not trade back beneath the low that created the internal break within all of this higher time frame structure, right? I don't need to scroll out to the daily anymore. I see exactly where I'm headed. Now I got to get into the finer details. And so at this point, I'm gonna take this EMA off as well. Let's do pure price. Here was that new higher high right in here. So now my job is to say, hey, at what point do I need to get into this market? I allowed price to pull back, and notice these rejections. So another thing I'll touch on is people are always like, what is a rejection? Like I hear rejection, but I can't conceptualize it. When I say rejection, guys, if I'm looking for a price to establish some sort of support level for me to go higher because I'm in a buyer's market, I need to see the candlestick variation bearish and immediately bullish. So here it was, we had bearish, bullish. We had bearish, and then we had bullish. Again, price went back to this level and ran bearish and then bullish again. At that point in time, this is when I called out the analysis to my team. I placed my first entry, which was right here. My stop loss always goes beneath the lows. Really, this is my overall target, but you know, when you're floating in decent profit, you just tend to take it sometimes. But this was the candlesticks right here. Bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish. Notice how it's pushing bearish and immediately closing bullish. Those are what rejections are. That's when the market's trying to find support. If you ever see the market pushing low, and we call it the floor, pushing to a floor, and then it closes bearish, bullish, that is support trying to establish. So at that point, I called this initial entry. I took it as well. It was a beautiful trade. I mean, just completely textbook. I actually never saw any drawdown. So really, My stop loss always will go beneath the lows if I'm buying. I didn't see any drawdown at all. And it's crazy. I actually didn't see any drawback in this entire trade. This is probably one of my favorite trades I've ever taken. And you'll see that the market does this over and over again. So let's continue to track this movement. I'll show you how I scaled this whole thing. So price created that new high right in there, and I call these the internal highs. Got into the market right in here, and then we pushed to another new high. Notice how internally price closed higher than this previous higher high internally, right? So now same philosophy applies. I'm not entering at a new high, right? It's really corny. We want to buy low and then we want to sell it off high. So I
Hmm.
allow price to pull back against that data. So price pulled back to this level that I had marked internally, which was that initial break, right? That was I'll make it blue. I know there's a lot of lines going on. And I'm going to take this first entry off. So I already have my first entry and it's still running. Actually just closed my profits today. So I held this actually through the week pretty much, a little bit
Nice.
longer than usual. But it's nice. And traders, you don't add on to losing trades. You add on to winning trades. You don't compound anything if you're not floating in blue. Okay, you're not floating in profit. You must add to winners, not losers. It's reverse what we think, right? Like
Of course, I know.
psychologically, we say
We've been ingrained.
we have, because usually we're like, okay, I took a loss. I need to get that loss back. I'm hoping it'll go in my direction so I can get back to break even. Let me add a couple more lots to this losing trade that hasn't even seen profit yet. You want to get rid of that mentality. It's a weakness in your psychology. You want to add to winning trades. So at this point, I'm already in hefty profit, right? So now I know, okay, I can actually entertain the idea of scaling in. So at this point, price pulled back. And again, guys, same concept. I'm looking for support to establish. So price pulled back here and we saw bearish, bullish. Immediately, guys, that was my entry. You can see price tried to push away and we came back again, bearish, bullish again. So that was my entry. So that was another scale in right in here. And I stalked this thing the whole way. Ended up taking profit off of the table on this one. So this was 188 pips there. So guys, from my first entry, I sold a short. I told my group we only made 176 pips. Overall, we're like 300 pips in profit, which is absolutely
Awesome.
insane.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so these little movements right here, these are a little more advanced catching these, but I scaled in on these as well. I won't go into depth because those are a lot lower time frame. But for now, this first entry and this second entry is enough. This third,
Now,
fourth,
let
fifth
me ask
entry.
you this: the ones that you scaled in on, um,
Yeah.
obviously a more advanced strategy. Is this something that you would consider discretionary, or is this part of the system? Did this fall into the trading plan?
It falls into the trading plan. It's nothing I'm doing outside of what I teach my students or what I teach myself. I'll hop down into the lower time frames just to show you what I was looking at. And this is 15 minutes, so it's a lot more noise, guys. If it's ever too
Sure.
noisy, you need to go up a time frame. So it was right here. I'm gonna take this box off. So I already have a couple entries running. So we had this new high here, right? Price pulled back to that level, didn't break this level here. I entered here. Price actually pushed again. I took an entry this morning and have already closed this out. New high here, we pulled back here and I put another entry. So, 15-minute trying to get in down here is a lot noisier than when you're already in the move. So I always tell my traders, when you're trying to get away from the first support that's being established on the higher time frame, stay in the 1 hour, 2 hour time frame. But when you get later in the trend, still trying to get back to this high here, you can get into the 15-minute and start seeing smaller scale and opportunities. So that's essentially what it was. I called this out. I called the scale ins out for my team, and everyone took advantage, and it just was a really beautiful trade setup. So one entry,
Awesome.
two entries, three, four entries on this move all together, and I didn't go take my focus somewhere else. I went and I took my focus on the trade I'm already in. So people say, well, how often do you trade? Well, I technically trade once a week, one setup, multiple entries. I'm not trading EuroCAD, GBP CAD, GBP USD all at once. I'm looking for the highest probability setup and I'm dialing in there. And then from there, I don't need to look at anything else. I know exactly what I'm here to do. And my confirmation system, if it's really a great trade, every confirmation presents itself. And this was one of those opportunities where everything was there. And so I just, no fear, I know the
Let
outcome.
me
I'm
ask you this.
I'm willing.
When you have a high probability trade like that, we have a lot of traders who don't like taking trades home overnight, for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
You mentioned you
yeah.
trade, you'll be in a trade up to 3, 4, or 5 days sometimes. How does having confidence in your trading plan eliminate that fear, or at least help with it?
Moving break even. The moment I move break even, I don't have to battle my psychology anymore. Because when I lay my head down at night, my stops are moved break even. And so if I wake up, I'm still in the trade, beautiful. If not, then that tells me right there that I need to analyze again. Why is price back at my entry point? It's probably not ready. I always say, if it's not immediately moving, and when I say immediate, I'm not talking next 5 minutes, I'm talking give it a day, give it a couple of hours to a day. If it's not moving, you can either manually cut your loss short, which I believe in, or move break even and get stopped out and reanalyze. I'd rather get knocked out break even 100 times instead of take 100 small losses. So break
Sure,
even
sure.
helps me sleep at night.
Awesome. Good
Yeah,
good point. Well, this is a,
yeah,
awesome setup, and thank you so much for sharing your entries and the outcome. I'm glad it worked out for you. It was a nice one. It's nice that you kind of going back to trading community. I mean, you wouldn't have seen this if you didn't have a mentor or at least a community. So it's something
yeah.
that I'm a huge advocate of trading community. I can't tell you how many times when I've been trading and the guy next to me in the actual trading floor was like, "Hey, that's a bad trade," and saved my hide. So it's nice to see it on the other side as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's what a mentor is for. They kind of weed
Yep.
out all the unnecessary noise. And 5 years into this, I'm giving my students the best probability setups. There's sometimes where it's kind of quiet in the group because if I don't see the setup, I'm not sending anything. It might not be
Right.
till
Right.
Wednesday, Thursday that I absolutely believe in a trade, and at that point, we'll take advantage, which is why we trade. We don't trade to trade, like a 9 to 5, right? We don't trade to have to show
Sure.
up 8 hours a day, hours a day. We trade because we want the time, we want the freedom. So I'm like, guys, if we can wrap this up in one trade, multiple scale ins, I mean, it makes my week really easy.
Absolutely.
It was a
Now,
good
what do
week.
you do if you with a dry spell? I mean, I know you don't trade super frequently. Maybe one setup, multiple scale ins.
Yeah.
What if one week, nothing
Yeah.
nothing really piques your interest?
I don't trade.
Got
If
it.
it doesn't pique my interest, I won't trade. If I'm losing and if I'm on a losing streak, because guys, you will go on losing streaks. They are absolutely unavoidable, um, or avoidable. You have to figure out a way, and this looks different for everybody. For me, I have some rules built into my trading plan, which is, hey, if you've already lost like 2 times in the week, let's throttle back and let's analyze some more. You might start getting a little out of character. You have to find ways to protect your psychology. But
Sure.
if I'm just manually cutting losses short, and that kind of displays as a losing streak, even though it's not really, I'm still in control. I just keep pushing forward. I
Oh,
recommend.
that's interesting. So, how you're losing plays an impact on what you do next as well.
Yes. Yes, yes, absolutely. If my stop losses are just getting smacked, I need to throttle back. I need to reanalyze. I need to make sure I'm ready to take the next trades, and I have no influence from the last trade. You must have a clean slate of mind every time you go to trade again. You cannot allow any of your decisions in the trading day to day be influenced from yesterday or the day before, even if you took a large loss. You have to figure out this armor around your mentality, to become just a very desensitized trader. And so if it's a true losing streak where my analysis is wrong, which is it's going to happen. I throttle back a little bit. I give myself time to reset. You have to give yourself space to reset. Don't go back to try to make it back. Don't go back to try to double it and make it back. Or even don't go back to try to go break even. When you go back like it's the normal trading day and you're just trading. No real
Right.
purpose, right? No intention of why you're trading. But if it's just manually cutting my losses short, and I have a couple, like 3 back to back that I've manually cut, I'm still pushing forward because I know that I closed those for a reason. I didn't like price. And it's not that I'm wrong. It's just I didn't like price. Price could still be on my side, but it's not ready yet. So kind of over time, and you can see I've been in it 5 years, so I'm able to really pull out those really small details about it. And that will come, traders. You stay with it; it will come. But you have to know how to maneuver accordingly during dry spells because you're just not going to win every single month. I've been on like a 2 month losing streak one time, but because my losses were so controlled, the profits for the next 4 months covered up everything. It's almost like that never happened. So the goal is to be
Right,
positive.
right, exactly.
So
Risk
it's
management, so
yeah,
important.
yeah, and I have a really good book. I still read books on trading psychology. I don't read books on technicals. I don't read any books. I trust my system, but I read
Hmm.
books on psychology because I still need it. And there's a book right now called The Best Loser Wins, and it talks about how losing is okay. You don't even need a 90% hit rate to be successful. You can have a 25% hit rate as long as everything prior to that is very controlled. And
Right.
yeah, it's kind of crazy how the math works on that, but
Yeah,
I
it's probability and statistics.
it is, and it is a component to the trading game. And reading that book just kind of locked me into my seat this week. And the way I was scaling this thing, I almost didn't recognize me. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like a new layer of me that I got to kind of rebirth this week. And so
That's
I'm,
cool.
yeah, it's
You're still seeing growth, which is great, and that's you hear that from all the traders. Everybody's still learning, right? It's this market will teach you forever, so it's nice
right.
to hear that you're reflecting on that.
Forever student. I'm a student to my
Yep.
students. Like even they do things, and I'm like, can you show me that more? What is that? And
Community. There you go. Community.
that's what
So important.
Yep, yep,
Awesome. Well, Lex,
exactly.
thank you again so much. I appreciate you joining us today and showing your charts with us and your success story and even your failures. We went into that a little bit as well. We talked about some losses. So,
Yeah,
super good things to come. We look forward to having you on again very soon. And
sure.
again, thank you for today. I
Yeah,
hope you have a great weekend.
yeah, you too, Corey. I appreciate you guys having me. You guys get with SurgeTrader. It's the best prop firm out, and you can find me on Instagram. I think we drop it in the chat below.
It'll definitely be in the chat as well as the description.
Yeah, so inquire, keep pushing, and I can't wait to be back on here.
Awesome, Lex. Thanks so much.
Of course.